Good morning, Meridian. My name is Sean Evans, President and CEO for the Meridian Chamber of Commerce. We're so pleased you can join us this morning for the first ever State of Downtown Meridian. This program was a brainchild of some people that are really committed to the growth and redevelopment of Meridian, the second largest and fastest growing city in Idaho. I'd like to take a few moments and thank those responsible for helping make this program a success and bring that to you this morning. First, Ashley Squires, the Executive Director for the Meridian Development Corporation. Victoria Cleary, the Economic Development Administrator for the City of Meridian. Stephanie Galbraith, Communications Manager for the City of Meridian. And Kirsten Rasmussen, Marketing and Communications Coordinator here at the Meridian Chamber of Commerce. Thank you all for your leadership and hard work on this program. We initially planned for this to be an in-person event at City Hall and expected maybe 50 in attendance. But we received overwhelming interest in the topic. And as we saw registrations increase, we decided to move it online to safely accommodate all those wanting to learn more about the progress of Downtown Meridian. We're expecting, over 150 people tuning into the program this morning. For those of you joining us today via the social media platforms of Facebook or YouTube, you can submit your questions in the comments sections of those platforms. And our moderators will try to bring in the questions as an appropriate time to be addressed by one of our speakers or presenters. If you're viewing this on LinkedIn, we apologize, but the comment features do not allow for us to see those live feeds, so you may want to jump over to one of the other two platforms. We will try to address as many questions as possible in our limited time today. Meridian is known as the center of the Treasure Valley, and Downtown Meridian is the heart of this community. We should all be invested to see it become all it can be. To open our program this morning, please welcome Mayor Robert Simonson.
Good morning, Sean, and good morning to all those who are participating and watching this morning. First, I want to say thank you to the Chamber and everyone else for putting this together. I also want to say thank you to the businesses and individuals who care about downtown for showing up and participating in this morning's event. Like many of you, I had the privilege of working downtown, and because of where my office is, I also have the privilege of watching a lot of the downtown redevelopment take place from my office. And I have to tell you, it's exciting what we're seeing in downtown. As Sean mentioned, it is the heartbeat of the community. And, we really have to stay focused on getting downtown development done correctly. Because what is occurring? We're really setting the path for the next 50 to 100 years with the activity that we're seeing. And I'm really excited about the projects and what we've seen go up, what's in progress, and what's yet to come. So today we're going to hear a lot of good stuff about the important activity taking place from those development projects. We'll get updates on the URD efforts as a tool that's being used to help our downtown grow smartly. And it's clear that we are working together so that we can take full advantage of the opportunities that exist for our downtown. From the Chamber and the MDBA merging to work hand in hand, the city and the urban renewal district working together on these urban renewal districts, the businesses who are talking to one another about how they can improve and work together and bring synergy to the events that are being discussed. We are all focused on making downtown the best place to be in the Treasure Valley. So I'm excited to hear the updates as well from many of the current projects. And I want to say thank you to everyone again for attending. And let's continue to do the best we can to make Downtown Meridian the heart of the Treasure Valley.
Thank you, Mayor Simonson. Next up, the redevelopment of Downtown Meridian takes some planning and some organization. The Meridian Development Corp was established by the City of Meridian in 2001 to function as the city's urban renewal agency. It's an independent agency authorized under the authority of the Idaho Urban Renewal Law of 1965. MDC is governed by a 9-member board of commissioners appointed by the mayor and city council for rotating 3-year terms. Please welcome the current chair of that board, Dave Winder.
Good morning, Dave. Thank you, John. Thank you, Sean. Thanks for having me. Thanks for the welcome, Mayor, and thanks to all the participants that are online. And also like to extend my acknowledgement of all the efforts of the city staff and Ashley, Tori with the city, and Sean and everybody at the chamber for putting this event together. It's a great event. Wish we were in person, but great to get this event going, and look forward to seeing it grow and hopefully be in person again next year. But yeah, just want to take a few minutes to talk about the Meridian Development Corporation and our role in the development of downtown Meridian. As Sean mentioned, we were established in the early 2000s by the city and also approved by the voters of the city of Meridian. We're overseen by a 9-member board. Our current members are myself. I'm the current chairman. Nathan Mueller is our vice chairman. Steve Vlasic is our secretary treasurer. Dan Basilone, Tammy DeVeard, former mayor, Rob McCarville, Diane Bevan, City Councilman Treg Burnt, and Kit Fitzgerald make up our board. And then we have 2 contractors that do most of the work for our agency. Todd Lakey, he's our legal counsel with Borton Lakey, and then Ashley Squires, who's our administrator. And Ashley's really the the person that does most of the work. We just meet occasionally and get to vote on things, but Ashley definitely deserves a lot of the credit for the accomplishments of our agency. So what do? Well, we administer urban renewal districts. Currently, there are 3 of them. There's the Downtown District, which was created in 2000. At that time, the state statute allowed districts to exist for 24 years. So that district will sunset in 2026. We're nearing the end of that time frame. So it limits the tools or the time that we have available to assist with redevelopment of downtown. And you're going to hear about some of the efforts we're undertaking to address that. In 2016, a second district was created at 10 Mile, and the statute allows for 20-year terms on districts as of then, and so that district will run through 2036. And then last year we created the Union District, which is a kind of a district within the downtown district that includes the Union 93 property and then the Civic Block in downtown Meridian. Those were created to give us more time to implement what we do in those districts. There's a couple of things underway that we're going to hear a little bit more about later in our presentation, but a creation of a new district in the Northern Gateway area of downtown, and then an annexation of some additional properties into the Union District in downtown as well. So what does Meridian Development Corporation do? Well, we're tasked with 2 things. One is elimination of slum and blight, and then assisting with economic development. Really, urban renewal is one of the few tools that the state has given municipalities to do those types of things within their communities. What we do is we collect tax increment that's generated by 2 sources. One, new construction within our districts, and then overall appreciation of properties within our district. So as values go up and property owners pay more property taxes, that additional tax goes into our budget, and we're tasked with spending those revenues on improvements within the districts that will help out everyone within the district. Primarily, we operate through owner participation agreements, which is where we partner with a developer or property owner that's making improvements to their property, and we use their tax increment to reimburse them for money that they spend on public infrastructure as part of their project. A couple of examples I wanted to bring up, the Old Town Lofts project, which is currently under construction in downtown Meridian. We're partnering with them to reimburse them for the cost of utilities and streetscaping. And then the Keller and Associates building, the MKA building, we partnered with them to help offset part of the expense of constructing their parking lot. And in return, we have an agreement for the use of 44 parking spaces for the public in their parking lot. Another program we have is a facade improvement grant program. So property owners in our district, downtown district, can make improvements to the exterior of their building and come to us and ask us to participate in the expense of that. Great example of that, the Roosevelt on Broadway. We partnered with Ryan Steinbroner to help pay for part of the improvements that he did to that building. I think it's a beautiful building, and people can look at that as an example of what you can do to spruce up the look of your building. One of the things we're spending a lot of time and energy on that doesn't get a lot of attention, 9 Mile Creek flows through downtown Meridian and has a fairly large floodplain. Most of the properties on the south side of the railroad tracks in downtown fall within a floodplain, which makes it difficult to redevelop them, and then also adds expense to the property owners to pay for flood insurance. We are doing a couple of things. One is working with FEMA to reduce the size of the floodplain just by contesting the flow that they've established for that creek. And then we're also working on making improvements to the channel through our district that will shrink the size of the floodplain. It's going to take time, but budget of the project is probably about $4 million. But that's one of our big goals in the remaining life of the downtown district, is to make that floodplain as small as possible to free up property owners to do what they want to do with their properties down there. Then we do a lot of other just kind of smaller things. We partner with the Masons to pay for the maintenance of their parking lot, and in exchange, they allow the public to park in their parking lot. We own the parking lot at the Compass VRT building, which part of it is used for parking at the Compass VRT employees, but it's also provides some public parking for other users in downtown. We were the driving force behind the branding efforts in downtown Meridian several years ago that established the historic downtown Meridian logos and the banners that you see around. We sponsor events in downtown. We don't necessarily put them on, but we help sponsor events. For example, the concerts on Broadway, and then the farmers markets that go on in downtown. So a lot of things we do. A lot of it you don't necessarily see, but vital for downtown. Downtown redevelopment is not easy. And a lot of people would rather go find a suburban field that's easier to develop and not have to deal with the challenges that come in downtown. Our agency, we work with people to kind of offset that difference and leave downtown as the heart of downtown, rather than have everybody just look past it and go on to other places. So excited with all the things that are happening in downtown. A lot of people have worked for almost 20 years now on the Urban Renewal Agency in downtown, and we're finally starting to see a lot of progress, and look forward to working with property owners and business owners over the next few years to see all those projects come through. If anyone has any questions about what we do, please visit our website, meridiandevelopmentcorp.com. There's all kinds of information on there about what we do. And also, please feel free to reach out to any of the board members and explain to us, or ask us for explanations of what we do. Love to help in any way we can. So thank you, Sean.
Thank you, Dave. And we'll be joined a little bit later for our panel discussion, as Dave will come back and represent his company for the commercial real estate discussion. So the Meridian Chamber of Commerce was established in 1958 with the mission and purpose of serving the business community of Meridian. Over 60 years ago, the business community looked much different than it does today. Much of what was the business community then was centralized in the historic downtown Meridian. The Chamber is a member organization and today represents over 650 member businesses. The goal of our organization is to support, promote, and advocate on behalf of the member businesses. We achieve this through educational programs, networking events, business workshops, marketing efforts, and committees set up to serve the business community needs. As the mayor was mentioning about the Meridian Downtown Business Association, about 8 years ago, the downtown businesses established that organization, MDBA, an organization to directly support the merchants in the downtown district. This organization was led by some committed volunteers that, in addition to running their business, was looking out for the best interests of the whole downtown. One thing this past year has shown us is that we need to band together and to support each other with limited resources and the valuable time that we all have. Discussions restarted last year to look at merging the MDBA with the Chamber to utilize the Chamber staff and resources to further advance the efforts of the quickly growing downtown area. The MDBA knew they needed to develop more events and a robust marketing plan to turn Downtown Meridian into a destination for the community to visit, dine, and shop. In June of this year, that process was completed, and the Meridian Downtown Business Association became a standing committee of the Meridian Chamber of Commerce. This committee is still led by the businesses that make up the downtown business community. Their focus as a chamber committee will be to support, promote, and advocate directly on the behalf of the downtown businesses. With goals of getting Main Street Meridian recognized in the Main Street America program and working to establish a business improvement district to continue to support the redevelopment of the area, the efforts needed the support of a full-time staff and some of the resources of the chamber. The efforts to promote Meridian and Downtown Meridian support all businesses in the community. But by becoming a member, you can directly support those efforts and you can have a voice in the direction we take the Meridian business community. The Downtown Meridian Committee meets monthly, and you can find the schedule for those meetings on the Meridian Chamber's events page. And you're encouraged to attend as we work to make Downtown Meridian a destination for the entire Treasure Valley. Wanted to open it up and see if there was any questions about the MDBA merger with the Chamber from our online viewers. Remember, you can enter your comments or questions in the comments fields of Facebook or YouTube, and our moderators will bring those up. Okay. One of the questions that I get is, what kind of events are we looking to create in Downtown Meridian? Well, we already have some really great events. I mean, from the farmers market that was mentioned earlier, the Christmas parade every year, and the tree lighting that takes place in downtown, the concerts on Broadway, to one of the biggest activities, and that's Dairy Days. But what we're looking to do is help fill in some of the time frames that events are going on. With Downtown Meridian and the core of our community, we should have something going on all the time. We're looking at adding some destination shopping programs for the merchants down there. Maybe some other summer concert series that bring people into the downtown area. And one of our biggest events that we are in the planning stages for 2022 is an Oktoberfest event. The goal of that event is to bring a couple thousand people downtown for music, food, and some beer, enjoy some beer from the merchants and businesses in the downtown area. So those are definitely some of the things that we're looking at doing for the downtown area, and activating the downtown as a destination for people that live here and in the greater Treasure Valley. Let's see, any other questions for that topic? Okay. So working hard to find creative and responsible ways to redevelop Downtown Meridian is our next speaker. Please welcome Cameron Ariel, Director for the City of Meridian Community Development.
Good morning, Sean. It's good to be on with you and all the citizens and business owners on the line. It's a pleasure to be with you. I'm Cameron Ariel, the Community Development Director for the City of Meridian. And again, just a big thanks to, Sean, Kirsten, and Stephanie, certainly Tori as well in our offices for putting this on. It's a pleasure to be with you all, and really just looking forward to the opportunities that are before us as a community, and certainly as a downtown community. So I wanted to just touch briefly on some of the updates and efforts related to the urban renewal districts that are being established that Dave mentioned briefly. And it's been a pleasure to work with Ashley on this as well, to put not only this presentation together, but just in the trenches with our team to make these things come to pass. So real quickly, we do have a few things afoot in the downtown. The first is an amendment to our original urban renewal district. So this is the one that was established originally in downtown. Some of those adjustments will help us parlay into the future efforts that we're looking to accomplish that we'll outline in a moment. So with the amendments to that will come these two kind of distinct updates. The first, as Dave mentioned, is the establishment of what we're calling the Northern Gateway District. And we'll show you a map of that here in just a moment. And then the second, which we'll touch, is the additional annexation of a few properties into the recently established Union District. So those are the two major things that we wanted to highlight with you all. So as you can see here in this map, these are the two amendments that we're going to be making to the old district. There's a portion of the Northern Gateway area that will be kind of taking out of the old district and then creating this new district. Really, the effort there is to kind of give us some additional time and opportunity to collect that increment that Dave described, to plow back into this area to accomplish a number of meaningful projects. And then you can see down there below is just the few properties that we'll be looking to add into the Union District that will hopefully help continue to help that part of downtown revitalize as well. So what we are hoping to accomplish again is any of the the resulting de-annexations here will take those properties out and establish a new base valuation that then we can assess the new taxation off of. That again will create the additional increment we need to accomplish these projects. All right, so here is just a little bit clearer map, kind of an aerial for you guys to see of the Northern Gateway District. Also, you can see the existing the old district boundary as well. So really the way that this is kind of laid out is we're trying to capture a few things in the north. There's the old McFadden property owned by Doug Tamura up there at the corner of Meridian and Cherry, and also the Albertsons properties there to the east of that, and then on down through the district. We do anticipate that projects and redevelopments in this area will generate, there'll be about $35 million of additional investment, and we're anticipating the taxation off of that will be able to help us do a number of meaningful projects in this area, and let's get to those. So we did want to prioritize transportation in this area. As many of you know, this area of town is not without its challenges. There's some legacy development. There's some older pathways and things like that that simply just need update and or realignment, extension, expansion to make truly the downtown connected and pedestrian friendly, which is what we all would love to see. And so here are just a list of a few of those transportation projects. One that Miranda in our offices, our long-range transportation planner, is really focusing on is the 2nd Street improvements as well as the 3rd Street extension. Really, this is a key corridor to downtown. If you use Sean's analogy, it really is giving us a bypass to the heart of downtown. So really helps with congestion, breathing additional mobility and life into all of downtown. So these transportation projects are really meant to upgrade our throughputs and increase commerce and industry. So a few other things that we want to focus on are certainly the completing curb, gutter, and sidewalks. This has been an initiative of MDC in the city for many years. As many of you know, there are many streets without these simple amenities, and so we really want to add a focus onto that. There are also a number of utility upgrades that we're seeking to work on in concert with our public works partners in the city. A lot of those utilities, for example, are in alleyways or are aging for sure. So really looking at getting those out of the alleys, making properties more efficient, and getting them into roadways and right-of-ways. Lighting upgrades, of course, and redoing again frontages and curbs. So again, we're hoping at doing some significant linear feet of improvements, and estimate that at about 11.7 million. And then some other projects. We have a great partner in Valley Regional Transit right here in our downtown. They're at the Compass VRT building. We're excited about some of the expansions of their programs, a fixed bus route right along Fairview and potentially through our downtown, and also the electric buses that will be coming. So really excited about transit opportunities. We're also excited about continued expansion of the facade improvements. So as things redevelop, whether they be new development or revitalization of existing properties, that's a great program there. Wayfinding and signage. Again, this is just a great way to establish place for the downtown and help people know where to go. This will be particularly helpful with parking. As many folks know, you have to know where to go to park, and so this will be a great way to enhance that as well. I will touch parking in a moment a little bit deeper, but definitely parking will be a focus of our efforts. Public plazas, parks, and open space. This is one that we definitely want to support as we continue to try to establish downtown as a place that people want to be, both to work, live, and recreate. These public amenities are really important to the success of that. Environmental remediation. Dave mentioned a few, 9 Mile, as well as old buildings and things like that. So there'll be a number of those types of projects, as well as the lighting programming. All right, so shifting a little bit now to the Union District expansion and annexation here. This is really in an effort to continue our efforts with what we're calling the Idaho block, and what we're calling the civic block, where Unbound now has its location, which is an incredible asset and amenity to downtown, as well as VRT Compass there. So we're really trying to take a hard look at this block of town and see if we can't continue to make improvements there. So we do have somewhat on the horizon some things afoot with properties going under contract and moving along, and so it was prudent that we annex these properties into the Union District to again be able to support those efforts of redevelopment. And some of the projects here will just, again, very similar to some of those in the Northern Gateway, but one that I'd particularly like to focus on is the second bullet here, which is the Hunter Lateral. This is as some of you may know, this is a irrigation lateral that runs right through the civic block, so right to the east of the community center and the VRT Compass building in Unbound. So it's right in the middle of that, making it difficult to redevelop. I think there's a 40-foot easement on that, and it runs all the way up through to Pine. So that lateral, moving that lateral out of the block, mid-block, and into 3rd Street is potentially where we're looking to realign that, particularly with the 3rd Street improvements, will really make that block more developable, and also just increase our ability to utilize that block to its full potential. So just a couple things as far as the schedule for these URDs. We're still in process of establishing them. We're on the docket right now for October 7 P&Z Commission hearing. So feel free to participate in that. There's an opportunity to get additional detail and see that through the process. And then it'll go on to City Council for a 1st and 2nd reading. And then the ordinance and adoption will be December 7th. So we're excited about the process there. And then lastly, just wanted to give you all an update here on the Civic Block and our efforts, again, jointly with MDC, to put some of these properties out for development services request for proposals. So we're excited that effort is in full swing. We did get 3 excellent proposals. So we've had one interview there with our first proposer, and we're looking to complete the interviews and then the scoring process on those proposals here in the next week or 2. It's exciting. The proposals have incredible opportunity written all over them. So whomever we select there, I think will truly add incredible value to the downtown. We're seeing things like a community center here, first floor retail with housing, some office, some plaza space. So again, just taking some of these properties right now that are underutilized and really putting them into active taxable production to not only reinvigorate downtown, but again, the magic of URDs and tax increment finances, that we then can plow that tax revenue right back into the areas where we want to see some of these public improvements. So really excited about that process, and we'll certainly keep everyone updated as we go through. Just wanted to take a moment and just briefly touch on parking. I know that that's a important topic for businesses and certainly residents in the downtown. And so we're excited about what this development means and how that potentially impacts people. So a couple things to note. The city in April did a parking study, and we've done subsequent ones, or previous ones in 2004 and 2009 that discovered that our parking occupancy, is at right around 49% of our total parking. So we do have, still have significant capacity in parking. It just may not be, right in front of a business, or, it may be down the street. So that was an important finding for us, and it's something that the city continues to monitor. Again, that's Miranda Carson in my department who conducts that. So we wanted to be very vigilant in monitoring our capacity. Obviously, as we have additional development come on, we have our codes that require, one parking space per 1,000 feet of commercial development and 1 space per residential unit. That's really important that we meet those codes, and we keep parking capacity there and available as we continue to redevelop the downtown. But per code and per MDC, there is a parking committee that reviews any alternative compliance requests to any of those codes. So there is an additional set of review. And of course, there's considerations for things like bike share, transit, street parking, shared parking, things of that nature that are somewhat alternative, but need to be considered in what I would call a parking or transit mix for our downtown. And so with some of these developments, change will bring alternative ideas to our downtown that may not have been there, but certainly are viable for pedestrians and for residents and for businesses. So those are things that are in place already. I think it is important, and I know Josh will talk a little bit about this with Old Town Lofts, but that all of the developments so far, even those proposed by Galena and Old Town, did meet our current residential code. And they did go through that parking committee for alternative compliance to make sure we have adequate parking supply. We also, as Dave mentioned, we recently have the Keller building and the Keller family joining us in downtown. What a beautiful building there right across the tracks. That project included approximately 46 additional stalls that can also be used for public parking as well. So again, really pleased with some of these improvements in that parking area. And then, of course, we're really excited about the downtown area and thrilled with the sense of community, in place among the existing businesses, and further excited about the future growth and development. So we'll continue to monitor parking and occupancy as we go along. There's certainly different tools and strategies we can use, things like, public-private partnerships for structured parking. Also, restricted parking in residential zones and potentially metering. And then the other is to make sure we have good code enforcement. Talk to Chief Tracy Betrichea about code enforcement. That is something that we do have in place and will continue to monitor and potentially increase over time to make sure we have adequate turnover of parking, and that's being enforced accordingly. And then lastly, I would mention the city does have in its comprehensive financial plan a significant investment in a downtown parking structure in the next 5 years. So we do want to be ready for that potential need in the future as well, whether that's a structure we construct or if that's something that we partner with some of these future developments. So with that, Sean, I'll kind of pause there if there's any questions, but I know that was a lot. But again, there's a lot of exciting and fun things going on in downtown. So really excited about it, and certainly open to any questions that the group may have.
Yeah, Cameron, no, I think you did a great job covering things. Definitely shows that there's a lot of hard work going on behind the scenes to put the resources and tools in place to redevelop our beautiful downtown and make it even more beautiful.
Yeah, so
remember, if you're viewing this on Facebook or YouTube, you can submit a question via the comments area, and we will try and make sure we get those addressed with the appropriate speakers. Let's see. Stephanie, do we have any questions pertaining to Cameron's presentation? Okay. Doesn't look like we have any right now. So thank you, Cameron. We really appreciate you taking the time to update us today on the projects. All right. So those are all the things that have been put in place to help the developments in downtown. But one of the things that redevelopment of Downtown Meridian takes is investors. people that see the potential in the area and the willingness to take those calculated risks to improve our downtown area. And today, we have two developers with us that are investing in the future of Downtown Meridian. Our first speaker has already established himself as a business leader in our community. Please welcome Josh Everts with Old Town Lofts. Josh, good morning.
Good morning, Sean. Everybody who's dialed in, I'm pretty excited that just in general we could throw an event like this and have a turnout like this. I appreciate everybody coming on board, but specifically Sean, Chamber, Mayor, Cameron, everything that we do with you guys with economic development, and certainly the biggest partner, MDC and Urban Renewal. Quick background on me. My wife and I have lived here for 30 years. We own a small business in downtown Meridian, right on Idaho Avenue. We started, I serve as a historic preservation commissioner for the city of Meridian and have done so for a number of years. I'm actually our vice president there. So storytelling, history, and Old Town Meridian is kind of my jam. Like this is where I spend 100% of my invested dollar. That city that's to the east of us, it starts with a B. I don't spend money there. This is where all my energy and resources go. And for those of you who spend time in downtown Meridian, you know that, and you see me walking around. So Old Town Lofts, the way this came about and what I've got is a quick slide deck to put together. We can go to the next slide. I don't know if I'm controlling that or if you guys. So let's walk through a little bit of this project, because this project began many years ago. So what I look to cover today is sort of giving people that have moved to this area in the last 3 years kind of a idea of what led to that project being awarded and all the construction that you see in downtown Meridian. We are going to talk a little bit about leasing information as well as some new information about the residential components, because we get a lot of questions about that. And then obviously we'll open it up for Q&A afterwards. So project timeline. This is the number one question that I take on a regular basis. When you see this kind of construction, obviously this was, it was referred to as we were proposing it, and is certainly proven to be so, a catalyst development project in Old Town Meridian. This was a culmination of a lot of work between MDC, the city, and myself, dating back to actually like 2014 and 15. But all the years, the 3 years that went into the actual award of the project in 2018 was really targeted as and looking to deliver a mixed use project right in the heart of Old Town Meridian. We demolished 2 bank buildings that MDC had purchased as part of a renewal effort. So great foresight on their part to recognize that if urban development was going to occur, that there needed to be real estate and land. God's not making any more dirt. So the dirt that we have is what we have to work with. As well as when the new city hall was built, the city held on to the original city hall in anticipation of a project like this. The original delivery date that we had slated as part of our proposal in 2018 was spring of 2021, so a couple months ago. So we went through a number of things that have caused us about a 9-month, 10-month delay in this, almost a year, that we're going to be delayed in delivering it. Things like when we were doing infrastructure. So this block, when the city planners were laying out downtown Meridian 100 years ago or longer, people were not thinking about 103 residences on this block. So replacing all the sewer. So if you guys think back to like last March and we had Idaho Avenue, Broadway all torn up, that was to replace all the city sewer, power, infrastructure to be able to support this kind of a project in our downtown. We also had a worldwide pandemic, which impacted labor, it impacted materials. We were finding things on site like old gas stations and old tanks under the ground that were never documented. We found Prohibition era tunnels that were leading in and out of the Heritage Building on the corner of Idaho and Maine that had to be collapsed and safely remedied before we could build this kind of a structure. So the original delivery date was spring of 21. The delivery date that we have that is definitely in the firm category and not to be missed is April 1st for the Main and Broadway building, which is Building A, followed shortly thereafter in July of next year with Building B. So I included some of these pictures up there because one of the questions I get asked is, Josh, it doesn't seem like anything's going on. Like, I've looked at this site for 4 months and I don't see anything. What's interesting about that is in those same days, I get comments about, boy, Josh, there's all these construction trucks that are parked all over Idaho Avenue. So just for perspective, the work that had been going on for really the last 6 months, I would say from March until about a month ago, was all internal to the buildings. It was HVAC, plumbing, electrical. It was all the things that was happening inside the building. So yes, we had very large structures with Tyvek wrap and windows that went in, windows that came out as we were working through just getting the insides of the building set with all the mechanical and infrastructure that had to be in there. What you're seeing now in the transformation that you're going to see in the next 30 days is going to be something, there's no fewer workers. It's just now you're going to see something that's very visible. So what we've seen in the last week are all the patios going in. We're seeing all the wrapping that's going to support all the brick facade, all the stucco facade, all the metal facade, all the capping that's going to go around the roof line. So I'm pretty excited that what we got to experience with the Keller building and seeing something take shape and take form, we're going to get to see that same stuff with the Old Town Lofts here literally in the next couple of weeks. So that's a little bit about the project timeline. So why did we do the Old Town Lofts? So originally this happened through a series of conversations between MDC, the city, and myself. My wife and I live in Downtown Meridian in a house that was built in 1913. And as we were looking at all the hard work that the city was doing with their destination downtown vision, the MDC revitalization plan and the comprehensive plan for the city, my wife and I really looked at how could we partner in that? How could we help renew a downtown? And so next slide, I want to walk you through part of what was presented to the city in terms of how we were going to address those things. So what you're going to see on this slide as far as our destination downtown mapping is these were the goals. On the left-hand side, we got the titles of goals that the city had sent out for our city core. So one of the things the city was looking for was 2 to 4 story infill and restoration. Again, encouraging developers to infill, take these open spaces and develop vacant and underutilized parcels. These parcels were all municipally owned, which means they were contributing no tax base through property taxes for the city. When we're completed with this project, we're going to have probably close to $30 million of investment and improvements into these sites that immediately are on the tax roll and offering benefit to the community. Traditional architecture themes, promoting the use of traditional architecture that conform to historic character. This was something that was very important to me. My wife and I bought the Heritage Building. That was the first investment that we had made in Old Town Meridian. We subsequently went on to restore the Bank of Meridian building on the corner of Idaho and 2nd. So maintaining those themes and doing that with the Old Town Loft project was very important to us. This idea of a continuous urban edge, meaning that we're building all the way to the sidewalks and that we're creating that strong presence and taking, using as much real estate as we can. That was an important part of this development, specifically on this block. Vertical and horizontal integration. And again, this is talking about mixing up our product where we could have retail restaurant on the ground floor and then be able to provide those residential components above. This preserving of downtown housing, I will tell you that we probably didn't recognize just how big this need would become. The description of this is to encourage development of live-work units to bring people downtown and promote local businesses and ensure 24/7 activity. For those that have businesses in downtown or work in downtown, the change that has occurred in the last 10 years in our downtown is remarkable. Downtown Meridian used to be a place that at 5 p.m. when the professional businesses left the town, there wasn't anything to do. There wasn't as much activity and liveliness. That's completely changed. I think for those of you who spend time in downtown, what we're seeing is activity, life, the work that 830 Commons has done, Deja Brew, the Roosevelt guys, the upgrades that have been done to the Frontier and their back patio, work at the Vault. All I've seen is more activity, more life, more patrons, and we're seeing cross promotion between businesses and looking to help grow one another. The other thing that we're seeing in terms of this downtown housing, and we'll talk about it a little bit more when we get to leases, is the goal of Old Town Loft was to provide what's called workforce housing. And what that is, that's not subsidized housing, that's not low-income housing. That's housing that's accessible and affordable to people that work in a downtown. My wife and I are small business owners in downtown Meridian. And even though we pay an above average market rate for the staff that we employ down there, my staff have been priced out of ever buying a home in Meridian. It just is not accessible anymore. And our goal has always been with Old Town Lofts to make sure that we're managing to a price point where those people that for example, I have 2 employees right now that Uber into downtown. They actually don't own vehicles to work full time at our lounge. They are looking at the lease rates that are coming out in Old Town Lofts and realizing they've got an opportunity to rent a place that's actually affordable and be able to live and work within walking distance of their jobs. So that was a big part of what we wanted to achieve in this Destination Downtown program. And then this whole emphasis on walkability and activity, one of the items that we put into the Old Town Lofts is we actually have an entire bike storage system that's indoors as part of the project. So tenants are going to have accessibility to that biking system. We're actually partnering with Meridian Cycles to do some branding and some promotion, because we realized with the development of a lot of these biking opportunities in our downtown, we wanted to reward that and make that a part of what we're doing in this Old Town Loft project. So that's really some of the key things that we tried to address with the Destination Downtown project. The other next slide is Meridian Development Corporation's, their urban renewal goals. So some of the MDC goals that we looked to address was strengthening the economic base of the area by stimulating new commercial expansion, employment, economic growth. So we have almost 16,000 square feet of commercial space that we're making available in this project. This is going to be the first mixed-use, high-density residential living concept in downtown Meridian. When we talked about Catalyst, I believed, even though probably people thought I was crazy at the time, that leaning in and doing a project like this would lead others to follow. And what we see with Union 93, the Civic Block project, work that's been done at the Roosevelt, Rob's investment in 830 Commons, Deja Brew, all these projects have happened subsequent to this Old Town Lofts project going in. And I've talked to these people, and a large catalyst for doing that was the fact that my partner, my wife, and I were willing to lean in and do something special in our downtown. Strengthening the tax base. This project originally was projected at about $20 million. It will end up being closer to 30 when we're done, just has been the nature of construction. And again, that's investments that my partners and I are happy to make to give and invest in our community. Elimination of obsolete building types and inadequate public improvements and facilities. This has been a big part of what we've done. So the 3 buildings that we've replaced on this site did exhaust their useful life. We did tear those down, and then we had to do all the public facilities improvements that not only benefits this project, but every other property owner and business owner that are on Idaho Avenue, Broadway, in relation to this site. Looking at modern integrated development, setbacks, parking, pedestrian vehicle circulation. So again, like Cameron was talking about, this was not something that was done in a haphazard way. We were very, very thoughtful about this project and what we were looking to do, and we'll look at a site picture here shortly. I think part of the pressure that some people are feeling in Meridian in regards to parking right now is twofold. One is a changing mindset in regards to parking. As somebody who's had a business down here for 10 years, I've talked to many people, legacy property business owners in town, that remember the days where we all kind of expected that the parking for our business was the parking spot that was right in front of it. And this idea of our customer has to park one block over and walk, that was just not, that was not acceptable. We expected to park in front of our buildings. So I think we have an expectation shift that's changing. Certainly when I go to Boise, I'm not expecting to park in front of the business that I'm consuming products from. And so that shift has taken place, and I think that's caused a little bit of strain. The other thing that's causing strain right now is the fact that we've taken all the parking space right now that's under development, and it's all being occupied by construction. When you do construction in an urban, dense area, it's very, very difficult to stage that other than on the site. So all the large construction trucks that you're seeing on Idaho Avenue, all the interior parking that would normally be parking on this site is all consumed by containers that have toilets and fridges and washers and dryers and all the things that we need to get the project done. As this project gets delivered, all those things are going to go away. We will reprogram all the parking interior to Old Town Lofts, and we're going to meet all the requirements that planning and zoning put on us, and the city asked us to support. There is actually a net increase to parking on this block, as opposed to what it was historically. Next thing was providing unity and integrity of design in the district. Again, we wanted to bridge, and you'll see it in the design concept, we wanted to bridge between the modern new city hall and the heritage building, kind of a legacy brick building. So in our design concept, we look to address that and be strategic about that design. And then also looking to promote improved environment for new commercial and residential developments. So again, we really wanted to be a leader with Old Town Lofts to set the standard for new renewal projects like Union 93, like Civic Block, that are going to come down the road. Next slide. This is the footprint of what the site looks like. So building A, which is in your lower right-hand screen, this is Broadway and Main. This is the smaller of the two buildings. Again, both these buildings are 4 floors with retail commercial on the ground floor. Building A is going to have 31 residential units. And then building B, which is over on Idaho Avenue, has got 8,700 square feet roughly of commercial, then 72 residential units. Again, the parking that's programmed on this site is a 1-for-1. So every unit that's in here will have a designated parking spot associated with it. There's also going to be additional reprogramming that we did in concert with First Interstate Bank. And then we also expanded the parking and we'll be finishing all the curb and gutter on Idaho Avenue to provide net increases of parking in terms of stalls that are along Idaho Avenue. But at the end of the day, there's a net increase to this site. Even though we are putting residents on this site, we made sure that the parking that we programmed on this met city code and was in line with the city's expectation for this site. Next slide. Some leasing information. This might not be important for everybody. On the targeted commercial lease rates between $20 and $26 triple net, we have turned down commercial leases at this point of people that don't fit what we're trying to deliver in this project. We are trying to deliver destination experiences. We are primarily focused on locally owned businesses, locally owned restaurants. We have had national larger entities come in that have wanted to lease space in there. And that is not something that we're interested in. We are really, really trying to target local proven retailers and restaurant tenants that are going to drive activity in this project. We're looking forward to, we just finalized all of our tenant improvement allowances. So we will be finalizing some letters of intent and be able to announce those in the near term. I apologize that I don't have any to announce today, but I think when people start hearing the tenants that we've been talking to that are going to be signing up for leases in here, people are going to see that there was a lot of hard work and the patience is going to pay off. If you are interested in any of that space and feel like you might fit in this project, Rollins Realty is leading all that commercial acquisition. Ben Fulcher, his phone number's on here. But what I really want to talk about is residential rates. So we are still targeting these rates. So we have studios, 1 bedrooms and 2 bedrooms in this project. We're looking at lease rates between $960 a month and roughly for the largest 2 bedroom, it'd be $1,400 a month. Again, what I've heard is that we have a gap that's occurring as housing prices have gone up so much in this area because of the growth, that these kinds of products I think are going to be really, really needed come next spring. So we're pretty excited to be leading out in our downtown core. And my expectation is that as soon as we make these leasing opportunities available, which should be right around the November, December timeframe, that this project will fill up immediately. And I'm the most excited for our retail partners, meaning the businesses that exist in Downtown Meridian, because these are more consumers and customers that are going to be living within a block, 2 blocks of all these downtown businesses. So even in my business, we've seen tremendous growth. When we add 103 residences, a block away from, let's say, my business, Deja Brew, Sunrise, 830 Common, Roosevelt, I think we're just going to see some real excitement, some real vibrancy happening in the downtown. We do have a website, theoldtownlofts.com, where you can start tracking residential leasing opportunities. There's a way to go on there, submit your email. You'll be put in the queue to receive information on that, and then we'll be tracking that very, very closely. So that's some basic leasing information. I think I'm done. Let's see if I got a last slide here. Nope, that's it. So I put my contact information up here. Cameron, the city, MDC, Ashley, Dave, everybody that's worked with my wife and I, Caleb, Pacific Companies, Mayor, to make this happen. It's been great. And again, Sean, just thank you to the Chamber for working with our Downtown Business Association, building this downtown committee, and partnering with me to make some real life happen in Old Town Meridian.
We did have a question about contact information, so thank you for sharing that slide. And remember, all of these are going to be available slide decks later, and we'll share with you the website that you can get those. Josh, one of the questions that did come up, first you had someone thank you for the affordable rates. But there was a question about, do you foresee the market challenges of putting pressure on you to raise those residential rates even before they get filled?
Yeah, great question. No, Caleb and I have been really direct on this and very, very clear on it that Caleb and I have both run very, very successful companies. Pacific Companies builds about $500 million of property around the country every year. But Caleb and I work and live in Eagle and Meridian. And so for us, it was much more important to develop a project and make sure that we meet this workforce goal of keeping these prices affordable. We're not looking at we don't have an investor group that we're beholden to. So we're not an economic opportunity zone fund or anything like that. It's Caleb and I, and this is a passion project and a project for us to give back to our community. So we're working very, very hard to make sure that we're covering some of the unforeseen expenses in this project. But this is not something that Caleb and I are treating as what I would call a traditional investment project where we're looking to maximize returns to shareholders. Caleb and I are doing this to invest in our community. And we think that filling up that project and getting tenants in there is the most important thing that we can do for our community. And we think keeping that affordable. Caleb won an award last year, in fact, Pacific Companies, for being one of the leaders. And I apologize for not knowing the name of it, for providing homes for people that, and specifically homeless people. And that's not what this project is, but we do have a heart for people and the roof that they put over their head. And if we can keep that as affordable as possible in this project, that is our goal.
Let's see. I don't know if we've got any other questions in there, Stephanie. I don't think I see anything else that's pressing at this time. Josh, thank you so much. We really are looking forward to the day that you can announce some of the tenants that are going to be in those commercial spaces. We also look forward to holding a ribbon cutting event for your first building in April of next year.
I look forward to it. I hope the whole city turns out for that. I think it's something that we should all collectively be really proud of.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Josh. Our next speaker is developing what will be the largest development to date in Downtown Meridian. Please welcome Bill Truax with the Galena Opportunity Fund, the developer of the Union 93 project. Welcome, Bill.
Hey, good morning, Sean. How are you? So super excited and super excited to follow Josh after that presentation. I agree with very much with what he said. Their project is a leading sort of test case for what Meridian should be in, and is in line with the sort of developments that we love to do, which is downtown. We love focusing on Idaho towns specifically, and Meridian is no different from that standpoint. We're in Boise. We're not a Meridian company, so we're over here in the city with the B on this side of the valley. But we've been working and trying to do a deal in downtown Meridian for a long time, and we've seen the value down there. And I'm not talking about just the economic value, but the value from an affordability and a housing stock perspective. I think Josh is right in line, and I think his and Caleb's efforts down there are to be commended for sure. So our project is on the site of the former Union Pacific Rail Yards. Anyone who's downtown knows where the site is, and it's stood vacant for a long time. We acquired it. Took a long time. It was a very complicated process to get this site acquired, but we acquired it in end of 2020, beginning of 2021, and we're hoping to have shovels in the ground here within October yet. So super exciting time. Love it. We love the downtown vibe of Meridian, and we think that's only going to get better and stronger. And the more people that get added in, the more likely that success is going to be there. And to echo some of the stuff that Josh just talked about, when you look at the destination downtown plan, the funny little quote bubble is that it's where Meridian lives. And that's a big theme in what drove our decision making on that project, on the Union 93 project. Next slide. So to give you a little bit of background on the project, it's the first of what we hope is a series of projects in the downtown core, all centered around the concept that we're going to bring people into the downtown core, because it is probably the biggest success indicator for a downtown. Any downtown that you know about has people that live there, and they're there 24/7. And so they frequent the retail, they frequent the shops. We're excited to see what Josh's project is going to bring into downtown. I'll give you a little bit of background on the project itself. It's 350 units, 2 buildings. One of them is 7 stories. It's 5 stories over 2 stories of concrete parking structure, and then the other building is 4 stories of residential over 3 stories of concrete parking structure. Got 26,000 square feet of retail in the ground floor. So we're hoping to activate that retail corridor along North Main and Broadway, and just complement the other stuff that folks in the area are already doing, and provide more lifestyle options for people who live there. So looking at the comp plan for downtown Meridian, we are right in line with it. The second phase that we're going to have in there is 225,000 square feet of retail and office. And so what we're trying to do is bring the people in first phase. Second phase, we're going to bring in the office use, and hopefully bring in like an anchor tech or financial services office with that will add a lot of vibrant people that work downtown in the core, and again complement the the existing efforts underway, add in more people, and hopefully add in companies that can continue seeding other developments in and around that downtown core. We think that by adding those, you're going to have a lot more vibrant downtown. Next slide. If you look back at the destination downtown, the plan always envisioned sort of a phasing approach, and probably thinking about the buy-in on the plan. And I think Josh was already talking about that. You got to start with catalytic projects. And so Josh is number one. We're coming back trying to riff on the theme of residential over retail and get it right in that area of the downtown core across from City Hall. Given where we're at in the valley and the number of projects that are developing in Meridian, I think you're going to see more and more people and more companies going through that City Hall. So when they come downtown is going to be a super vibrant place. We do have Keller and Associates building that was just completed, a beautiful building just to the south of us. Keller is actually the civil engineer on our project, so we're super stoked to have a neighbor who's helping us design the neighborhood. It's going to be, I think, very catalytic, 350 units. We can talk about the numbers here in a minute, but the impact is going to be very, very tangible and felt. One thing that we are working on, and Cameron alluded to it in his first, or he didn't allude to it, he discussed the issue of parking in downtown. Our project has 665 parking stalls in there. It's designed to be sort of a parking node for area developments. And so we're hoping to complement the other uses that are going on with the civic block and potentially with some of the tenant overflow on the retail side that comes from the Old Town Lofts project. Next slide. So turning downtown into the destination starts with the Old Town Lofts project and City Hall. And it involves intensifying the use. So when we think of downtown, we think of people moving to and from, people that live there. We think about people coming in and wanting to be part of it. And it has evolved recently. Before we just pass by on 84 and kind of not pull off. It's an Eagle Road exit. We're hoping that the shift starts to bring people into downtown more and more. And I think that with the stuff that's going on Pine and the connection that VRT is proposing with the rapid transit, it feels like you're going to start to get a better connection with the Eagle Road connection and 10 Mile. So those things we feel are going to make downtown very, very valuable for the long haul. Next slide. So when we acquired the site and in the initial conceptualizations of the site, we were always thinking of the connection to the rail. It's hard to avoid it because it's a Union Pacific site. But when you think about that connection, it really does give you a sense that there is a way to connect to existing transit and complement existing transit options, so that transit can become more and more important as a means of bringing people into the downtown core or out of to employment centers. So right now we're located across from VRT. We're expecting to have that connection improve east to west to connect to 10 Mile through the efforts of VRT and MDC and the city of Meridian, and east to Eagle Road. So our site really just puts people front and center on that. And it was designed to complement and enhance that. Additionally, on the south end of the site, we do have a Rails with Trails pathway extension that over time we hope becomes more of a connection point that people can use for walking and biking and potentially other more intense uses later on. Next slide. So the project is 2 buildings, as I mentioned before. We'll start construction on the east side of the site along 3rd and Broadway, which is the east building. The buildings together are about 654,000 square feet worth of building area in the parking structures and the residential, 184 units in the first building and 166 in the second building. So we'll be adding a lot of people into downtown. We do feel like we've got sufficient parking in there. We're parked at a ratio far in excess of what is required for downtown. So we do have plenty of availability of stalls, off-street parking stalls, so that the street stalls are still allowed for business and retail stops. We do have a lot of retail users that we're expecting to cycle through there as well. So we're super excited about the amount of stuff that's coming, but we do have some more intense use that's going to come with the office. Next slide. The buildings themselves are interesting and have a lot of square footage attached to them. But what's more interesting to us is that we've got a lot of amenity space. We've got about just under 1.5 acres worth of, 1.6 acres rather, of park space that we're dedicating along Broadway. So in front of the buildings, we're designing an entire area that we're hoping serves as an outdoor gathering area and an extension of things like the farmers market that exist in front of City Hall. We're hoping to connect east-west along Broadway to those activities. And then we have a lot of courtyard patio private space for residents. We've got a lot of amenities really from a residential perspective. But the thing that is exciting is that it's integrating into the fabric and adding a lot of land area in what would otherwise be a very urban feeling project. So the intent when we put this together was to integrate with the MDC project to the north of us at the Civic Block site, and hopefully create the context for a really nice pedestrian feeling area. We will have some destination restaurants in the retail portions of these buildings, and we'll also have some quick drop in, drop out kind of restaurant spaces. So the intent is to create places that people want to come and hang out and make Downtown Meridian more of that kind of space. Next slide. This is just a very quick visual image of some of the building spaces. You've got up on the 7th floor, you've got some patio decks overlooking the valley. We'll have those at the 3rd floor, at the 2nd floor, at the 3rd floor, and up on the 7th floor. Again, trying to integrate the people inside the buildings with the outside, and hopefully create a very big attachment to that downtown core of Meridian. Next slide. Oh, and there you've got my contact info. Probably if you're complaining about construction activity, you're going to want to talk to me about that. Let's go ahead and go to the next slide. Here's where I do want to talk really briefly about the people that we've assembled on this. And unfortunately, we didn't include Keller and Associates on here. There are civil. They have been helping coordinate at the ground level with all of the utility infrastructure and Downtown Meridian irrigation and ACHD. So we apologize for not having them on here. But what we've done is we've assembled a team to create the buildings in what we think is both a sustainable fashion and one that will have a lessened impact on the downtown businesses. So this is a modular project. We'll start construction of the civil and underground work in October. Start the podium, concrete parking podiums not long after that, and then move and hope to set modules in the spring next year. We have a relatively large site, so a lot of the stuff will be stored on site in the project. The team on the concrete side is going to be Oakland Construction. Gurdon will be creating the modules. We've got Jackson, Maine, that's a very experienced modular architecture firm. GGLO locally has been helping us with the design of all the landscaping improvements and then just general building aesthetic. And then Axiom, we work with quite a bit on the structural components of any of our downtown structures. So the team, very, very experienced, very, very knowledgeable, and hopefully will help create a building set that we can look to at the next 50-year cycle and know was a great addition to downtown, but also during the short term was minimizing its impact by not having as much torn up for as long as could be the case with a project of this size. And with that, I think we can move on back to Sean.
Bill, thank you so much. We do have some questions. Stephanie, why don't you throw up the question there from Kid Creations that came in? Do you have any retail tech anchors that you're going to be targeting for this project? I know you're not be able to name specific names, but what are you targeting for the commercial space?
Well, we've got financial firms that we've been looking at, and we've got also like engineering firms that we've been talking to as well. We have been approached by a couple firms out of the Portland market and a couple firms out of the Bay Area that would like to consider moving into the space. We're not set yet. We're still in the early stages of designing the office and the office buildings, and we will come to the city soon on that. And I think that'll inform quite a bit. But if there was a way, or if anyone knows of anyone, will certainly take recommendations to get in with folks. But I think that as soon as we start building the apartment component of it, it'll start to heat up on the office side.
Okay. Remember, you can enter a question in the comments if you've got a question for Bill about the Union 93 project. One question that did come in a little bit earlier, and the rates. Josh talked a little bit about the rates that he's getting for the units there for the residential units. Have you all got an idea of where you're going to be in the rates?
No, we don't yet. I think right now we're all dealing with commodities pricing fluctuations. I think, to Josh's point earlier, he started at 20 million and now we're at 30 million on his project, and we're expecting to be about 115 million on this phase of the projects ish. The concrete and steel pricing is driving stuff, and unfortunately that does have a corresponding ripple on the rent side. But we do develop quite a bit of affordable with a big A, affordable projects in Idaho. So we're very sensitive to the affordability issue. So we are going to be monitoring the pulse of that as we move through it. Where we all live and operate in the valley, so we're going to try to do what we can to keep them attainable for people.
Okay. Yeah. Let's see. Do we have any other questions, Stephanie, that came in? Okay. Doesn't look like it. Thank you, Bill. As I mentioned to Josh, we're looking forward to a ribbon cutting for him. Hopefully, we'll be helping you turn some dirt very soon here in the next couple of weeks.
Oh, indeed. Us too. Super stoked.
All right. Thank you, Bill, for joining us today. Next on the agenda for our program is a panel discussion with some of the Valley's best commercial real estate executives. Many of you attending today may be property owners or potential investors in Downtown Meridian, and we wanted to bring you an outlook for Downtown Meridian for those that, from those that know commercial real estate market well in Idaho. Joining our panel today, coming back in his day job, is Dave Winder. Dave is the director with Cushman & Wakefield Pacific and has more than 20 years in the commercial real estate industry. He specializes in investment properties, representing buyers and sellers of commercial and multifamily properties and bare land. Dave also represents both landlords and tenants in lease transactions. He holds a CCIM, Certified Commercial Investment Member designation, the gold standard for professionals in the commercial and investment real estate industry. A graduate of College of Idaho, not only is Dave on the board chair for the Meridian Development Corp. He serves as a board member of BOMA, the Business Owners and Managers Association, and as a member of the Urban Land Institute. Welcome, Dave. Thank you.
Thank you again, Sean, and hopefully people aren't getting tired of hearing from me yet. But wanted to just give kind of a quick overview of the current conditions of the commercial real estate market in Downtown Meridian. And for the sake of this discussion, the definition I'm using of Downtown Meridian is roughly Fairview on the north, Franklin on the south, Meridian Road, say maybe to West First Street on the west, and as far as Fifth on the east side of downtown. In that area, I'm going to cover retail, office, and also touch a little bit on industrial space too, since there is a fair amount of industrial properties on there. But most of what I'll discuss will be focused on the retail and office portions of it. As far as retail goes, in that area, and these numbers are from CoStar too, that's the source of them, roughly 80,000 square feet of retail space. Currently, there is 0% vacancy. There is not any retail space available for tenants that want to come into that area in Downtown Meridian. That doesn't include Old Town Lofts, which is still under construction, so it technically hasn't been delivered yet. But big challenge that any business owner that wants to locate into downtown or grow in downtown, relocate or expand, there just aren't options for people. So it'll be great to have that property that Josh and Pacific Companies are bringing to the market here soon. Roughly existing buildings, when transactions do occur, I would say the rent range is anywhere from, there's a few older, lower quality buildings that are probably around $9-10 a square foot a year lease rate, up to the mid and maybe some upper teens for the rent rates. But again, there's been so few spaces available that it's really hard to gauge exactly where the market's at. The good news is whenever a space does become available, it gets snapped up very quickly. No problems with that. As far as new product that's coming to the market, the Old Town Lofts we've already talked about, and which should be delivered next year, and then look forward to the Union 93 project breaking ground, and maybe have some that additional 26,000 feet of space in a couple of years, or 18 months, however long it takes to get that built and improved and put on the market. As far as notable deals that have occurred recently, corner of Main and Pine, Craven's Candy Emporium. That was kind of a big secret for a long time, but when they filed for their building permit a while back, became official. But they're moving into the space that was vacated by Potter's Tea House about a year ago now. But they're set to begin renovations of that space, and I think their plan is to be open sometime in December there in that space. Slice Pizza wasn't noticeable to the market, but it changed hands earlier this year. Both the real estate and the business have new owners. They were owned by two separate groups previously, and somebody new has bought the real estate and somebody new has bought the business, and continued to operate it. Again, another deal that was easy to do because I think there's a lot of demand both from the investor standpoint and from tenants that want to use space. Josh's building in the Heritage Building, Sushi Shack, opened up almost a year ago. I think it was December of last year that they opened. But great example of kind of a reuse of an existing downtown building where that was office space on the ground floor of the Heritage Building, and they renovated it and turned it into a great restaurant. I don't know how many of you have had the opportunity to go down there and have some sushi, but good food, great energy, cool building, really great addition into downtown. It wasn't a transaction that occurred recently, but Unbound opened earlier this year after finishing their renovation of their building in downtown. Great to have them back. I think they're a great addition to downtown and offer a lot to other business owners and tenants in downtown. On the sales side, there have been some significant transactions occur, all kind of concentrated in one area, and it's an area that we've talked about previously on this call today. But the 127 Club building sold about 18 months ago. The Idaho Independent Bank building next to it at 113 Idaho sold earlier this year. There's nothing official, but I think there's plans in the works to do something with both of those sites that we'll hear about soon. And then kind of a breaking news thing, just in the last few days, I believe, the McFadden family sold the property on the other corner of that block to Ryan Steinbrenner, and so Ryan's developing plans with what he's going to do with that. On the office side, in that same area, roughly a little over 150,000 square feet of office space. Good news is there's 2.1% vacancy rate. The bad news is that's all in one building, the new Keller and Associates building. They've got those two ground floor spaces in their building that are on the market, which is great to have, but there's just no other space anywhere else in downtown, and especially no second generation space. So Keller, their new building, they're asking $25 a square foot modified gross for it, significantly higher than the stock of existing buildings. So, it'd be nice to have some both new and second generation space available for people to move in. And also wanted to use that as an example of a story. We lost a tenant in Downtown Meridian a while back because they didn't have office space to go to. Zenify, Nathan Mueller, who's on the MDC board with me, his company was in Downtown Meridian. He's a huge proponent of Downtown Meridian, wanted to stay in Downtown Meridian, but there was no space available to accommodate his business, so he had to relocate out to 10 Mile. I'm excited to hear that Galena's thinking about office in phase 2 of their project. I think that would go over very well. And I think, that'd be a boon to, it's going to be great to have all the residential in downtown that's planned and under construction, but we need some more office space to have more daytime people downtown, which will help the retailers and restaurants succeed during the day as well. So hopefully more of that will come. On the industrial side, most of that space is focused kind of on the south end of downtown. Again, about 75,000 square feet of space, 0 vacancy. So there's just not space out there for tenants that want to grow or expand in Meridian. It's common across the valley, but I think especially in downtown Meridian, that's the challenge we face, is there's just no space.
Hey, Dave, thank you. If you'll stay in the group here, I think we're going to bring in the rest of the panelists, and then we'll let them present and get to some questions.
Okay.
Next, we have Chase Erkins. Chase has been the principal with Lee & Associates Idaho since 2012. Chase represents clients in purchasing, selling, and leasing of buildings in the areas of office, retail, multifamily, and industrial. Chase brings a history of operations and sales expertise with the ability to find creative solutions for his clients. Prior to joining Lee & Associates, Chase was with J.T. Morgan Chase Bank. He is a University of Idaho graduate, board member of BOMA, Idaho, and is a member of the Urban Land Institute. Welcome, Chase.
Hi, good morning. Thanks for having me.
I'm going to bring in Holly just so that we have everyone here, and then I'm going to come back to you because you got a good presentation to share with us today. Next is Holly Chetwood. Holly joined TOK Commercial. Good morning. Holly joined TOK Commercial Retail Group in 2015 after spending the first half of her commercial real estate career in northern Idaho and eastern Washington markets. She focuses on achieving vibrant, competitive retail centers filled with strong, thriving business through a marketing strategy, creation, and implementation. She is a graduate of the University of Puget Sound and a past president and board member of the Moscow Chamber of Commerce. Holly serves as the Northwest Tenant Council representative of the Retail Brokers Network. She holds a CCIM designation and is a member of the International Council of Shopping Centers and the Urban Land Institute. So thank you all for joining us here for our panel discussion. We're going to ask each one of you to give kind of your perspective on downtown Meridian and what we can expect to see for the future. And then after we get through all that, we're going to open it up for questions from our online viewers. Chase, I think you have a presentation. Let's go with you first.
Yeah, but now I'm a little scared because you said you want a prediction of the future, and I'm not sure I can really do that reliably for you. But I will say that what I see when I look at Downtown Meridian is opportunity, and not just because it was designated the opportunity zone, but it is prime for taking advantage of the motivation or the momentum that is already being created and starting to build on that. And I think as you start to build on that, there's a lot of downtown property owners who have been very vested in Meridian. They've owned their properties for a long time. And there's now a really good potential to start blending the old parts of Meridian in with this new change to create a more vibrant downtown. So, going off of what Josh and Bill are already doing here to bring in a lot of new residential development, I think, as they've already mentioned, that's pretty key from what you see in great downtowns around the western parts of the United States. If you are going to go and look to find a good downtown and you ask around, you're going to hear some pretty common things. You'll hear, Bend, Boulder, Austin, and these places all have a couple of really good things in common. It's that they have a lot of residents that live downtown and can kind of support the basics of every day. So as Josh and Bill come up with these new 450 some units that are coming on board, that's going to just energize this and make it so that there's going to be a more potential for existing building owners to start to capitalize on that, right? So you've already got good tenant base in downtown. As Dave just mentioned, everything that's there is completely full. That creates an opportunity with more people coming in to try and make more spaces to take your existing building, and if you can, modify it. But there's also going to be some opportunities here to maybe get rid of some buildings that are functionally obsolete and turn those into buildings that have a lot more economic value. You can have better updated spaces. You can go vertical and make it so that you take advantage of the great zoning that you're in, and you're going to be able to blend this old historic value that is in Downtown Meridian with these newer buildings. Like Josh did a great job of complementing, bringing in some modern and then mixing it in with the right kind of the right kind of skin on the outside of his building to make it so that it looks like what you expect when you come to a good downtown. So I think there's a lot of room to capitalize on that as building owners develop themselves and move forward. So you go into the next slide here. The other thing that you see in these great downtowns is walkability. It's got to be safe. It's got to be clean. And you got to be able to get from building to building by parking one time and then being able to spend time down there. You want to attract the people that are going to come down for brunch, and then they're going to go and hit up a couple of the stores. And then maybe they're going to grab ice cream, which I don't know if you've ever been to Pearl Street in Boulder. There's like 7 or 8 ice cream shops on that street, and they all seem to be very viable. So probably something that is needed in our downtown here. But making it so that people can get around, be comfortable, safe, and not feel like they're rushed and in a hurry is going to be another component that really needs to happen. And Downtown Meridian actually does an amazing job of this now. It is clean. It is inviting. There are places that you can go out and sit on a patio. And, it's probably not just an Idaho thing, but everybody here in the Valley seems to really love their patios during season. So I think capitalizing more on that. And also, if you can figure out how to do a rooftop patio, people bring that up all the time. So I think there's some opportunity for that. And I'm interested to see what is coming there on Idaho Street with the IIB building and the 127 building, and then what Ryan puts together, because I think that there's just an amazing amount of potential between that block, Idaho, Broadway, 2nd, to create this real core of downtown and then start to expand out more. And, Dave mentioned that his downtown is from, Fairview down to the railroad tracks. And I think that can be a great downtown starting from this core and moving through it. So Next part here, I started to touch on a little bit, but if you go back to what Josh said when he was responding to the RFP, and what MDC wanted to see was 2 to 4 story buildings on there. Well, Old Town zoning makes it so that you can go more dense than that. But I think what you can see by looking at some of these other downtowns, I've pictured Boulder here, 4 story buildings are large enough to take advantage of the density. You can get multiple floors of office, or you can get residential and retail on the bottom, like Bill and Josh are already doing. And you're not going to cast a big shadow. I hear a lot of that anytime a new building goes up anywhere in like downtown Boise. If you hop on the Facebook comments, you'll see left and right people say, oh gosh, there's another shadow. Well, these kind of buildings aren't going to do that. It makes it so it's inviting. You can get in a good patio out front still, and you're going to make it so that people want to come here. It's going to be energized. And, like I said, there's already a good start coming. I think we're probably primed to get that next one into permitting so that it can just continue on the momentum here once Bill gets his project up and going. So moving on to the next slide. This one is kind of more for those property owners. I know I myself am a downtown property owner in Meridian, and a lot of the owners that are down there currently are sitting in those properties pretty good. You're at a really good basis, owned it for a long time, and it's pretty easy to just kind of stick with what you have going and not put a bunch of money into anything and just see good returns, which is great. As a property owner, you want to have something that's simple, that gives you a good cash flow. But there's a lot of potential here for really growing their assets. By taking your single story building with a parking lot and turning it into this 4 or 5 story building, you're going to create real wealth for yourself, as well as helping lift up the entire downtown area. By getting that second, third, fourth story, and maybe it takes some partnerships with other people if that specific property owner doesn't have it. But there is so much money out there right now trying to look for cool projects and look for yield that it's just a great time to start to try and figure out how to reimagine what you've been working with for a long time and make it so that your existing tenants can grow with you. The more people that you bring downtown in tourism, or the more residents that you have downtown living there, you're going to help stimulate your current tenants and make it so that their businesses can grow. So, you have the 830 Commons, the Deja Brew, the Heritage Hop House, all of those are going to continue to thrive, and they're eclectic. It's nice. And you can bring in some more local and some regional tenants to help keep it unique. And, there's going to be some national tenants that come in too, but I think what you see in a lot of these downtowns is that they are local and it is unique. So keeping that kind of that fabric of just that local community is also going to continue to make it so that people want to come downtown. They want to see what's different, and maybe not go to the same thing that is on every corner for fast food or coffee that's throughout the rest of the United States. So keep that downtown fabric growing and help get your tenants to be more profitable, while at the same time that will boost rents, as you're also starting to see with Josh's project. You're getting up towards $26, $28 a foot on some things, and the Keller building at $25 a foot that Dave mentioned. Those are higher prices than normal, but because you're adding value to them, they're going to be able to sustain it, and they're going to grow along with you. So as a property owner, there's a lot of benefit here for you to take and reimagine what you have right now. So and getting on to this last one, I think you mentioned already that the Chamber of Commerce is going to help out a lot with the DBA. Well, I Googled Downtown Meridian the other day, and unfortunately, what comes up is there a downtown in Meridian? So I think there's some good potential to just start with getting some branding going around what is in downtown. And I don't think Meridian needs to copy another downtown that's out there. It's its own identity and can create it from here. But if you do look at a couple other downtowns that I've mentioned already, they have great websites that market everything you can do in downtown. If you're there for 4 hours, if you're there for 2 days, there's different ideas, places to go and visit. And it's a good way to promote the existing businesses downtown. So working on, what shows up and making it so that it does have its own identity to continue on what you've already been doing is going to be a great way to continue to build on the momentum that everything is, has going right now. So.
And stay here. We're going to get to some questions. Next, we have Holly Chetwood with her presentation. Holly.
Good morning. Thanks so
Thank
much. Thank you and Victoria for inviting me to join the panel today. I really appreciate it. To give you all a little bit of context, my family moved to Meridian, Idaho in 1979. I actually went to Meridian Intermediate School when it used to be downtown and spent a lot of time at the Hungry Onion. And I think back then Dairy Days used to be at in the parking lot of Cherry Plaza. So a lot. Now that I've been back in the market for about 6 years now, and it's wonderful to see all the positive growth and changes that have occurred with Downtown Meridian, but also a lot of things have stayed the same, and it's great to see that it's maintained a lot of its charm. So my presentation today, Tori asked me to speak to a lot of the existing retailers and also potential future retailers in Downtown Meridian. So I've got a couple, just 2 or 3 things that I'd like to touch on for you all to think about as you move forward with your fantastic growth opportunities. The little thought number 1, and I think both Bill and Josh's projects are perfect examples of this as we see some new construction emerging. And the first thing to remember is just to embrace who you are as Downtown Meridian. Embrace the history. Downtown Meridian is the core of where everything started. Still has a fantastic historic feel, a variety of non-chain restaurants, salons, offices, bars, etc. And you still have free parking. And it's great to see that the Downtown Business Association and the Chamber have merged. So as you move forward with all of this growth, both with multifamily and new retail opportunities, that the messaging to everyone else can be the same. Next slide. Downtown Meridian still offers affordability for tenants compared to a lot of the new construction that we're seeing at the Village, North and South Meridian new construction. The average lease rate is still under $20 a square foot. It's $18 a square foot, and the triple nets are still affordable. To give you some perspective, new construction in both North and South Meridian, as well as the Village, lease rates are in the high 20s to mid 30s, and often the triple nets are huge. The Village, I think, is probably 3 or 4 times the triple nets that you all have. So great to see that tenants can still keep their overhead low and their profitability high there. Next slide. Just a little reminder that the experiences, people still want to shop. The Amazon effect chatter, it's not everything. People still love to socialize. They want to come downtown and visit your stores and visit your restaurants and still have that experience. 86% of retail sales are non-e-commerce, and just a little something for you to remember there. The next slide. For all of you retailers, both restaurant and any kind of boutiques or anything like that, just a reminder to engage, a couple of tips to stay relevant. Encourage your customers to post stories on their Instagram pages and on your Instagram pages. Keep your menus current. keep your sales, any kind of sales that you're having out there. Just a little reminder to stay relevant with what's happening with your business and what's happening with downtown. And lastly, I just have a couple examples of other downtowns in the region and different things that other downtowns are doing to reflect on and see if some of those ideas might be applicable to Meridian. Bend, Oregon, I know Chase mentioned Bend. They seek to keep occupancy at or above 95%, and they provide branding and marketing efforts to keep downtown at the forefront of their citizens. They also provide staffing for snow removal downtown, cleaning the sidewalks, watering the plants, and hosting special events, and etc. Twin Falls, if you all haven't been down to Twin, it's gotten really cool. It has great restaurants. I don't know if it's as great as Downtown Meridian, but they completely redid Main Street and have a lot of new shops along there. It looks amazing. Eugene, Oregon is another great example, has a large number of initiatives for their downtown revamp. One interesting note is the number of public and private partnerships they have in their downtown. And lastly, Spokane is a good one to watch, even though they have obviously a large body of water, a big river that runs through it, and parks and bridges. It's another great one to look at in terms of different kinds of multi-use buildings that have gone in downtown, as well as their shopping experiences. So I think that's about it. So that's all I have. And thanks so much for having me on today. And it's great to see you all.
Well, Holly, thank you so much, and stick around. If you can bring all of our panelists back in, I've definitely got some questions that we want to pose to all of you. Each of you touched on some of these questions a little bit, but we'd like to get your collective thoughts. And Holly, we apologize. There were some font issues with your PowerPoint, but everyone will be able to get that downloaded from the website that we're going to give you here at the end of the program, and it will be correct. So this is a question for all three of you, and Holly, I'll pose it to you first, and then we'll go around. What do you view as Downtown Meridian's competitive strengths? I mean, you touched on some of the things, but what else do you see as one of the major strengths that Downtown Meridian has?
Meridian has character and charm by far. Not everybody wants to go to a strip mall to shop and to eat. And Meridian offers just so much more vibrancy and character for those, and a lot of people that are looking for that. And I love to hear that Craven's is coming in, and I love to hear that Sushi Shack. Those are fantastic local, great additions to downtown's vibrancy.
Okay, Chase, what do you think is our Meridian downtown's competitive strength?
I think there's a lot of them, but one of the biggest ones is just its general location in the valley. I think being the center of the valley is it makes it so that people can get to you easy, coming from all over the place. So once you build it up and build that identity of it's a place to go to, it's going to attract people more. And then you also have the ability for a really big downtown. If you look at a lot of other places, they are constrained by, rivers or foothills, things like that, and they can't really grow out as much. If you could fit into Dave's definition of Downtown Meridian and make it so that everything is kind of cohesive and built out, you could have a really awesome strip of downtown that is going to fit a lot of different types of people that want to go there. So I think the location and just the general geography is a really good benefit that you have going for you.
Yeah. Dave, your thoughts on the strengths for competitive strengths for downtown?
Yeah, I'd echo exactly what Holly and Chase said. The location, the central location in the valley, the ease of accessibility for people to get to us, the free parking that Holly mentioned earlier. I think that's a big advantage. It's easy for people to get here, and we want to keep it that way. I think one big thing is just it's authentic. Downtown Meridian is a place that's existed for over 100 years. It's already its own place. It's not something that was just created, as a project by a developer or whatever. So there's advantages that come with that we need to keep a part of Downtown Meridian.
Okay. It was mentioned a couple times before with some of our speakers. What benefits could a business improvement district bring to Downtown Meridian? And is this something potential tenants should look for? Chase.
Well, I'm going to start off with what I left off with on my slide, and branding. Business improvement district can do a lot to focus around that. And, you're going to put in a little bit of money from all the tenants that are around there, but it's going to create a collective good for everyone. And if you can start to use those funds to make this the place to be and the place to come to, that's going to be the biggest improvement that I can see for a BID.
Okay. Dave, MDC set to sunset for the downtown district. What do you see as the benefits of a business improvement district?
Well, I think there's a lot of them. Chase has mentioned earlier about if you Google Downtown Meridian, the biggest thing that showed up was, is there a downtown in Meridian, Idaho? I think that's what the Downtown Business Association could do, would be to promote downtown and make people more aware of what's down here and promote the activities and retailers and all those kinds of things. Because I don't think people, by and large, know. Some do, but it's the people that are already here and already active in downtown. The other thing a business improvement district could do is, in the past, there have been efforts by the city and MDC to kind of, for lack of a better word, push efforts on downtown. A business improvement district would turn that over to the property owners and business owners in downtown and let them lead the charge for what they want for that district. So I think there's just all kinds of opportunity that would open up if one was created.
Okay. Holly, you've been in some other markets. What's the potential tenants should look for if a business improvement district is brought forward?
Oh, sure. I think I touched on that when I discussed some other cities. Just help with a cohesive vision and a cohesive vision and message to help drive consumers to the downtown. And really that's it. So that each individual tenant isn't just solely responsible on getting their word out. They can rely on each other and the synergy with one another and with the BID to get the message out, if that makes sense.
Okay. Stephanie, do we have any questions that have come up from the group right now? Okay. I've got one other one here. As a shopping dining destination, how can businesses compete with other destinations? I know Chase mentioned, we have the advantage of being center to the valley, but where are the primary competitors for what we vision for Downtown Meridian? Dave, let's go with you.
Oh, well, when the village is a great project and been very successful, but I think that hurt downtown when the village went in. There were tenants that were interested in potentially locating in downtown, and when that center was created and kind of the energy of Meridian moved to that spot, that's been a big hurdle for Downtown Meridian to overcome. I think we're finally at the point where we're there, where we're attracting tenants that's kind of established in what it is, and now there's other tenants looking for other things. But I also think everybody's been talking about it, the local tenants. I think what we need to attract in downtown are the local restaurants, the local restaurateurs, the retailers, that kind of thing. Get the people that are successful at marketing their businesses and running restaurants that are maybe in another place in downtown Boise or something like that, but get them to open up operations in Meridian.
Chase, you shared with us in your presentation some other cities, some examples, a street full of ice cream shops. What do you see as the primary competitors, maybe besides ourselves, for downtown Meridian?
Well, downtown Boise is going to be a pretty logical one to compete with. It's good, it's vibrant, and it's got a lot of the restaurants and places that people want to go. So that is a competition. But, the Village is going to be competition, and 10 Mile, Eagle, and Overland. There's all good destinations, things going on there, but none of them are poised kind of quite the same to have this neighborhood feel in their downtown. So while I think they are competition, they're a different type. They're attracting a lot of the national tenants and things. So you kind of stick to what Holly said and be authentic and true to what downtown Meridian is. You have this just vibrancy that even though there are places to compete, they can't offer the same things. So if you go and you look at, like I mentioned, Pearl Street or Bend, things like that, they just feel different. It doesn't feel like a big parking lot with a strip mall, which are fine. We need those, but it's a different type of competition for you. So,
okay. Holly, you were talking about shopping and dining destinations. How can the businesses, and I know Josh talked a little bit about trying to really be targeted about bringing in local restaurants and things, not necessarily looking for the big chains. How can businesses compete with those bigger destination restaurants and things when they're trying to come into downtown Meridian?
Yeah, I think that's a great question, and I think we've all kind of touched on it a little bit. By having a BID would be extremely helpful. But again, for all of those existing retailers to just stay relevant, keep your Instagram pages up to date, highlight your dishes, highlight your menus, make sure you're staying top of mind as much as you possibly can. And if you aren't familiar with social media or using Instagram, tap the shoulder of some of your young employees to help you with that, and maybe they would love to take that on. So, yeah.
Okay. Well, I want to thank all three of you for joining us today. We're kind of at our time that we had told everyone we were going to go to today. So, Dave, Holly, Chase, thank you for joining us and offering your expertise into what we're envisioning for downtown Meridian. Thank you.
Thank you. Good to see
Thank you.
I'd also like to thank our partners once again for their support of the program, the Meridian Development Corporation and the City of Meridian. You can find the recording of today's program and the presentations used today on the City Meridian's website at www.meridiancity.org/state-of-downtown. All of the presentations and the recording will be there. So thank you for joining us today, and visit Downtown Meridian.